Good morning, good afternoon, or good night. Whichever one you're tuning into the podcast to, whatever time zone you're in, I want to bid you a fair good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, whichever one it might be. You have just tuned into the Sons to Fathers Nugget devotional for fathers, and I'm your host, David L. March Sr., better known to some as the Big Brother. Now, I want to go ahead and jump right into this. I hope you enjoyed yesterday's podcast talking about mentoring and so forth. Well, today we're going to talk about 10 temporary sacrifices every super father should make. All right. With that said, let's go ahead and just jump right on into it. All right. Let's start off with a quote. President Theodore Roosevelt said this, and I quote, "Never throughout history has a man who lived a life of ease left a name worth remembering." Now, not only is that a principle that rings true, but it's especially appropriate for all super fathers, and that's what you are. And so from this day forth, I'm not going to call you just a father, but I'm going to call you a super father, a mega pop, a mega dad, a mega father. Why? Because that's exactly who you are. You are super in your child's eye. But that doesn't make you perfect. Now, being a super dad or a great dad, in some cases, is hard because it involves learning how to sacrifice. Now, super dads give up a certain amount of temporary happiness for their family's future's joy. You understand what I'm saying? Now, the time we have with our children is short, so it's important that we make it count. Now, you've heard me talk about before in a few podcasts ago, closer to the first ones, if you want to go back to listen to them, that, I was bringing to light the point that us as fathers, super fathers, we don't have much time to share with our kids throughout the day. So it's not the quantity of time, but it's the quality of time and quality of what we pour into them. Not the amount of what we pour into them, but the quality of what we pour into them. Because you can pour a whole lot into them that don't mean a whole lot of nothing. But if you pour into them positive things and reinstilling those virtues and those principles that God has laid out for us in the Bible, those are good quality things that are going to last a lifetime. We already know they will, because the Bible tells us that if we train up the child in the way they should go, when they grow old, they shall not depart from it. That's what the Bible says. So, now I want you to understand that we aren't saying that some me time, because everyone needs a little bit of me time. It's not important or occasionally acceptable, okay? However, I'm going to share with you today 10 temporary sacrifices that super dads should make on a consistent basis. But I want to make this clear right here. And I want you to understand this, because this part right here is very, very important. So if you don't hear anything else out of this list of 10 things, I want you to hear this. One sacrifice you won't hear listed here today, one sacrifice that you will never hear listed or hear me say you have to make, and that's the relationship with your wife. Because too many couples in this day and age, they have put the relationship on hold and say, well, we'll take care of us later because the kids come first. Newsflash, breaking news, stop the presses, open up your ears, stop, pull over, do whichever you need to do. Newsflash, dads, the absolute best thing you can do for your kids right now is to take care of your relationship with their mother. That's first. And there's many times, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be very transparent with you even now. One thing I've learned that's helped my marriage get better, and something I learned by being a part of Marriage Matters at our church, So shout out to Mike and Barb Grotsky at our church, the Potter's House here in Columbus, Ohio. One thing I learned from there is what you did to get married is what you do to keep your marriage. The kids wouldn't be there if it wasn't for you and her, so you need to take care of her first, and then the kids later. And that might not always be easy, but it's a sacrifice that we need to do. It's something when we have to sacrifice ourselves for our wives, and that's completely acceptable, man. It's what we should do, right? Just like Jesus sacrificed himself for us, the church, for us, the people, because we are the church. Sometimes, man, we got to sacrifice ourselves for our wives. You understand what I'm saying? So, again, that's something, the relationship with your wife, that sacrifice, you'll never hear me mention sacrifice the time with your wife for your child. No, don't do that. Now, number one, which is very profound since we just talked about it. Number one, self. You'll never miss it. This shouldn't be a temporary sacrifice, but a permanent one. The moment you had kids, self-focus took a back seat. Unless you were married, in which case, like I was just saying, it took a back seat when you made the commitment. But here's the thing with that. Once you truly get the idea of servant leadership, you won't miss the old way. Did you get that? Once you truly get the idea of servant leadership, you won't miss the old way. Number two, I'm going to try to scoot through these pretty quick because my time today is running kind of short. So bear with me here. Some, not all, but some career moves. Emphasis on the word some. A job that makes more money and gives more fulfillment, but leads to too much time away from the family may not be the very best move right now. The key to a full life is in relationships, but your family relationships has the highest priority. Weigh promotions, weigh the odds and ends, weigh the pros and cons carefully, because they could lead to a broken family. It could cause you to become away from them. And we've seen it all in the movies where dad is constantly working and busy and constantly on the go. They lose focus, they lose sight, they lose connection with their family. And what happens? The family ends up breaking up. So that's one sacrifice you might have to make, the career move. Not all of them, but some. But you have to weigh the pros and cons of doing that, okay? Number three, accessibility, both to children and your spouse. Now, these are 10 temporary sacrifices that you need to make on a daily basis, okay? Like I said, privacy, accessibility, both to children and spouse, is critically important. We all need the opportunity to recharge, but extended me time probably needs to go bye-bye when there are relationships to nurture. As far as your wife is concerned, the Bible tells us in the book of Genesis that Adam was to nurture Eve. Men, that has not changed. Our job is to nurture our wife, to nurture our children, to raise them up in the fear of God, and to show them how to trust God even in adversity, how to trust God even in the hard times, how to trust God when it seems like everything around you is falling apart. That right there is so very important, because that is what your sons are going to have to look forward to when they get older. So if you teach them how to deal with that now, stress, especially when there's no light at the end of the tunnel, when it seems like things are darkest and there's no light, when you show them that you can stay faithful to God in what you're doing, even in those times, that's going to be so beneficial to you as your kids get older. Why? Because that's your legacy. That's your memoriam. Shout out to Andre Vizelle for throwing that oil on us for that one. Now, that's nurturing those relationships. your accessibility. You have to be accessible to your kids. Even though me time is important, but being accessible to your wife and kids is very important as well. Number 4, let's have some fun. By fun, we mean frivolous fun. Fun with your children or your wife. However, is not frivolous at all. Isn't that something? How the word frivolous fun is not really frivolous at all. Number 5. Now, this could be something for everybody, but mine is hunting. All right? This is a sacrifice I have to make. So whatever your leisure is, whether it's golfing, whether it's biking, whether it's hunting, whether it's fishing, whether it's just sitting down in your private time watching the sports channel, whether it's going out bowling, whatever that is, that has to be a sacrifice that needs to be made in the proper time. You can include those things in your me time, but sometimes you need to step away for that time. Now, what I really mean is any activity you can't share with your family, but takes up a huge amount of your time, or any potentially limited resource. If it involves time and or money, and it's only for you, we think a little sacrifice is in order for that. You understand? Now, number 6, sports marathons on TV, which we just covered. So anything. Remember, 3 consecutive football games accompanied by $30 of snacks and foods. We recommend maybe 1 game and then a couple of hours of fun time with the family. So instead of sitting up watching or binge watching the March Madness or the Final Four, there's all kind of things, all kind of ways you can catch the score on. There's all kind of ways you can get caught up on that. DVR it. You don't have to do it right now. Sacrifice that. Sacrifice that time watching the game and go spend some time with your family. Spend that $30 on snacks at the park. Spend that $30 on getting ice cream with your family at the park. Now, I don't know who all this pertains to, but let's say that you like to play cards. You like to have guys' night. It doesn't have to be like any kind of card game or chess game or whatever. It's just you and the fellas hanging out. Now, this could involve stopping, for different places for lunch or wings or what have you, blah, blah, blah. But doing it 3 times a week, it's a bit excessive, isn't it? You do the math. 3 times a week, you're out with the fellas instead of at home with your wife and kids. Now, I'm going to let you know something right now. Your wife and your kids might say it's okay, but that's what they're saying. You need to be the bigger man to take a step back and be like, this isn't right. I need to be with my family. When it keeps you away from your family, these activities, the correct phrase is wasted time. Hello. Now, number 8, most of your high-risk bucket list items. Now, I can think of some really high-end bucket list things on my list, but right now that has to be sacrificed, because I have a son that's playing sports. I have an older daughter that's still trying to figure out who she is, and my middle daughter which is getting ready to graduate. She turns 18 this Saturday. So my time, my finances, my energy needs to be put towards those things. But the majority of my time, my finances, my energy needs to be put towards God and my wife. You understand what I'm saying? Now, my bucket list, it can wait because I'm still alive. And I'm knocking them off slow but surely. But I'm doing it in balance. I'm saving. I'm doing it when the opportunity comes. Like I wanted to go skydiving for my 45th birthday. Here I am 47. So that's 2 years that I've had to put that on the back burner because my family and my family comes first. You know what I mean? Now, so we can scale a capitan when the kids leave home, like the mountain